While murder and rape charges have been slapped on the gang rape accused, there is one juvenile who was apparently the most brutal of the lot. And he may just go scot-free under the garb of the Toothless Juvenile Justice Act. The boy, who was the bus cleaner, who will turn 18 in another 4 months from now, will get away with a maximum of 3 years of counseling at a reform home. He has confessed to both sexual and physical assault of the 23-year-old girl who passed away yesterday, and was also identified in a test identification parade. But it is because of the Juvenile Justice Act that he will escape any harsh punishment. The law states that any offence committed by a person below 18 is an act of innocence, and the juvenile cannot be tried under provisions of the Indian Penal Code. He will be exempted from prosecution and punishment in accordance with the United Nations Conventions on the Rights of the Child. Cases will be dealt with by the Juvenile Justice Board and provided free legal aid as well. A bone test on the juvenile rapist has proved he is in fact below 18 years of age. He will turn into an adult during the trial. But age at the time of the offence, as is well known, is considered by the law, and he will get away with a 3-year reformative punishment at a juvenile home as per the law as we know it right now. But there are several questions.
जुवेनाइल का डेफिनेशन यह है, वो चाइल्ड का भी डेफिनेशन वही है, ये जुवेनाइल जस्टिस एक्ट में 18 साल के अंदर कम उम्र का हो तो उसको बाकी लोगों के साथ मिलकर ट्रायल नहीं हो सकता, सजा नहीं हो सकता। ऐसा है उनका बर्थ सर्टिफिकेट होगा, उसे तो वो प्रूव कर सकते हैं, स्कूल रिकॉर्ड होगा, उससे भी होता है, और उसके अलावा मेडिकल एग्जामिनेशन भी कर सकते हैं। या डाउट है ये डॉक्यूमेंट्स के बारे में, ये सही है नहीं है करके, अगर प्रोसिक्यूशन इसको चैलेंज करती है, उन्होंने जो भी सबूत देता है, बर्थ सर्टिफिकेट हो या स्कूल रिकॉर्ड हो या पेश करके, अगर वो नहीं मानती है प्रोसिक्यूशन, तब मेडिकल एग्जामिनेशन करा सकते हैं। मेडिकल एग्जामिनेशन होता है अंदाजा कितना है करके।
This is a sensitive issue that we're talking about. Punishment for a minor. Considering that there are people out there who are angry that the one person who has confessed to both sexually and physically assaulting the 23-year-old who is no longer among us, why should he be allowed to get away with what can only be comparatively seen as minor punishment? 3 years in a juvenile home. We don't take sides here on Headlines today, but we are about to get you an expert view to give you a factual position on where things stand and what could perhaps be possible in the atmosphere that we're debating right now. Hello. Joining us live on this Headlines Today panel, we have with us Madhu Kishwar. She is professor at the Center for the Study of Developing Societies and also founder of Manushi. We have Manish Mohan, who's a well-known Supreme Court lawyer, who will be giving us his views on where things stand legally. And joining us live from our Chandigarh studios is Utsav Bens. He's a child rights lawyer, and he feels very strongly about the provisions of the Juvenile Justice Act. He believes that this person, this one juvenile among the 6 who perpetrated this crime, should face the harshest form of punishment, like perhaps the other 5 perhaps will. I want to open today's discussion, this evening's discussion, with a word from Manish Mohan, the Supreme Court lawyer that we have this evening on our panel. Mr. Mohan, is this it as far as the Juvenile Act is concerned? The way things stand right now, we'll get to where things could possibly go, but as the law is right now, what is the maximum punishment that the minor in this case could face?
See, it's 3 years punishment that can be given to a minor, a juvenile.
Yes.
That is the maximum as of today.
Are there no exceptions at all?
No exceptions.
There are no exceptions to the rule at all?
No exceptions.
Utsav Bes joins me from Chandigarh. Utsav, we were speaking a short while ago. You're a child rights lawyer, and you've perhaps seen this sort of thing. And we've been getting, messages ever since we announced this show earlier today about how remand juvenile homes are filled with, boys who've become adults, who've committed the most terrible crimes. What do you think needs to happen, Utsav?
What should happen right now is that we should learn something from the English law. We should just have a provision in the Juvenile Justice Act that in cases of extraordinary brutality by any juvenile, in exceptional cases, the juvenile should be treated as an adult. That is all. The benefit of juvenility should be given to all children who have signs of reformation. But if a child shows signs of bestiality, if a child shows no signs of reform, then the benefit under juvenile justice law should not be given to that child. Because the only reason that the Juvenile Justice Act was enacted was that some children need a chance, second chance, they need a chance to reform. But in this specific case, the child has raped that girl, he has clearly hit her with rods, put rods, I don't know where all, what sort of form of bestiality he has committed. He deserves no condonation, he deserves no concession under the law. The Parliament should convene a special session and they should amend the Juvenile Justice Act. Just follow the English law that in exceptional cases, only in exceptional, rarest of rare cases, where a juvenile...
We're going to get to that. Yeah, Utsav, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to what makes an exceptional case in just a moment. I'm going to come back to that. Manish, I know you want to respond to that, but I want to quickly get in Madhu for an opening comment on this. Madhu, where do you stand on this?
You know, the irony of it is that just a while ago, we raised the age for consensual sex.
Yes.
And made it punishable, seriously punishable, sex between consenting teenagers, for example, a 17-year-old girl and an 18-year-old boy is a crime. And serious punishment for that. Even marriage, seriously punishable if they decide to elope. At age 17, both of them. To me, that was absurd. And here we are facing a situation of bestial brutality, and we are saying we will protect this young person because he is not 18. Secondly, this argument about reform actually doesn't wash at all, because our juvenile homes are virtual hellholes, far worse run than prisons, because prisoners still have some protection. 100 times worse. Supreme Court has repeatedly appointed committees, commissions that have looked into Nari Niketans, those women who are supposed to be rescued from danger and locked up as though they are criminals. Nari Niketans and our juvenile homes and our children's homes are worse than hellholes. There is no punishment worse than putting anybody there. So there isn't a chance in a million of reform. Even in our prisons, there's so little. Except, you know, some showcase examples in Tihar jail, a good officer comes in and he introduces, but there is not much of systematic attempt at reform, at trying to understand psychologically what impels such a person, how do you make the necessary
But do you think, Madhu, that the Juvenile Justice Act needs to change?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it's such a bizarre anomaly, especially after you have made a ridiculous change in the age of marriage.
Yes.
And in the age of consensual sex.
Yes.
At that time, I don't know why the government did this.
There seems to be a double standard as far as that is concerned.
No, it's madness.
Yes.
It's not double standards. And I'm not surprised when Utsav says, I know you can't exercise your own brains, at least follow the British.
Yeah.
We will actually have to invite the British to come and say, come back, please, you left these, now things have changed, we are incapable of sensible interventions, please come back and help us. Because what we are doing by way of new laws are so bizarre. I gave you this one example. Not only it's knee-jerk reactions, it's not thought through, and most of them therefore when implemented, whether it's your Anti-Dowry Act or it's your This Prohibition Act and even STD, Sex Determination Test Prohibition Act, they cause more problems, they cause havoc if they are implemented seriously. We are passing the most non-implementation worthy laws.
Manish, what is your professional view on this, on the Juvenile Justice Act? I'm asking you, you know, both as a lawyer and a student of the law and as a citizen. All three things combined into one. I know that's difficult, but, you know, all three things. Do you think it needs to be changed?
See, I have two things to say. One is that where an offense is committed by a group comprising of adults as well as minors, then there should not be any distinction between the two when it comes to awarding a punishment.
Interesting. Okay.
Second most important thing is that there are certain offences which are not supposed to be committed by a minor. In case of a sexual offence, we don't foresee a minor committing this offense, and if it has been committed,
Yes.
then he should not be subjected to this juvenile act.
By doing something that is not expected of a minor,
Not expected
he
of a
should be
minor.
subjected to the laws that are applicable to adults.
To adults.
But you know,
Yeah.
I really
Utsav, I'm just coming to you. Quick word from
I think
Madhu.
what we need is a comprehensive approach. What you're doing is knee-jerk reaction.
You're
this
saying it's
clause, that
emotional.
clause.
You're saying it's
the
emotional.
British at least did a serious job
Yeah.
way back in 19th century and gave us an Indian penal code. We don't even have the capacity to sit down and say, let us look at it in a realistic manner and enact laws that make sense, that when implemented don't create havoc.
Yes.
And this would be one example of tampering with one clause here and tampering with another clause there. Both are in fact contradicting each other. Consensual sex is criminalized, and a murder by a 17-year-old, you treat him with kid gloves. Doesn't make
Utsav,
sense.
as we move forward, when we're talking about changing laws, adding provisions to existing laws, there is a sense that, a lot of things being asked for are knee-jerk, they're piecemeal. Madhu says, tinkering with one thing affects another. Is it time to sit down, look at this entire thing really unemotionally and decide what's best and how to go forward on it? Utsav?
Well, I agree with Madhuji. Britishers came to India and they made these laws to rule over slaves. We were slaves for them. And after the Britishers left, it's been a decade and it's been many decades, and the laws have not changed.
Yes.
You see the IPC, you see the CRPC, every law is enacted by the Britishers to rule over slaves. And now the present establishment is using these laws over us, and we are still treated as slaves. You look at what happened in Delhi. Section 144 of the IPC is used in prohibiting any sort of freedom of speech and expression. That was used by the Britishers to slam people like Bhagat Singh. So what Madhuji is saying is absolutely right. You need a complete overhaul of the system. And why am I advocating that there should be a change in Juvenile Justice Act? Is because justice should not only be done, but it should be seen to be done. If you will let anyone accused in this case go away, it will set a very bad precedent. And there has been rise in rape by juveniles. There have been 850 cases of juveniles booked for rape in just 2010, a rise in 2 times.
Okay, one second, Madhu. Manish, given this particular case, we're talking about this specific case right now. Talking about amending a law, adding provisions, those don't sound like things that can be done in a jiffy. Those will take time. They will be debated in Parliament. We know how the system works. You know it better than most of us do as a lawyer. In this particular case, considering the anger that's there on the streets, are we facing the real possibility that this minor in this case, and this is a question that a lot of people are very curious about, will only face the maximum under the Juvenile Justice Act?
See, first thing I wish to say on this issue is that while we are discussing the status of an accused who is a juvenile after he has admitted having committed this heinous offense, when youngsters, the students go out to protest, the police, when they lathi charge or fire tear gas shell, they don't distinguish between juveniles, the school kids who are going there to protest. So when it comes to state action, there is no distinction whether it's a juvenile or an adult or a college student. But when it comes to, so what we can very well see, it is very visible that the state is also erring on the right side and coming to the aid, the state machinery is coming to the aid of the accused persons rather than coming to the aid of the sufferer, the victim, or the aggrieved ones.
That is a dangerous situation, Madhu.
That's one, and I really think that now that you are actually taking out the time to discuss these issues at length, making the country aware of the anomalies, my appeal to you, please take this forward consistently, because the way these laws get amended is small NGOs, small coteries around this ministry, that ministry, few favorite people who are in every commission, who are in every committee. There is very little consultation. Please open up these laws for wider debate, because we are
very
good.
There
are too many of them. We are very good at passing pious sounding laws which show deep intent. You know, they are draconian. They threaten people with, for example, burden of proof, shift kar do, ye wo kar do. What we do is we deprive people of due process. We make it sound as if we are very serious, but the same law then starts getting misused. Because your machinery of implementation is rotted out completely. It's not even as bad as it was during British. It's completely rot. Because the British could at least use the police for their purpose, and it acted to serve their purpose. Right now, whose purpose it's serving except as private militia of certain politicians? Secondly, so if people become aware, you get feedback and inputs from the best brains across the country.
Absolutely.
That's not happening. If you were to examine, please examine how these laws get passed, who are the same 10, 12 people who are there as consultants.
Look, you make a fine point.
Small NGOs, normally foreign funded, with clout with international donor agencies, and a lot of our laws are actually showcased, to impress the world. Oh, we are very serious about protecting women's rights. We are very serious. But the intent, in terms of when they start getting implemented, they cause havoc.
They cause havoc. No, you make an excellent point about how it isn't just about this one law. There are several laws that need to be actually opened up to debate, and there are so many, hundreds of these laws that need to be actually be debated. I'm almost completely out of time. What we've tried to do here on Headlines today is to inform our viewers about where things really are at. I'd like to end this discussion, very valuable discussion, by asking Manish. Manish, you're a lawyer, and people say doctors, lawyers, activists, often end up being close to or witnessing the worst there is to offer in terms of humanity. What do you, as a lawyer, think about this case?
See, about this case, or be it in general, when we speak of reform or improving the system, especially in criminal cases, what we need to improve is the manner of investigation, the manner in which evidence is collected. Now, a policeman who has very little knowledge of law, he does VIP security drill throughout the day. In the evening, he goes to collect evidence. Next morning, he has to go and attend a court summons. So, ultimately, what we need is police reforms. What we need is bifurcation of the police force, so that law and order is a separate wing, investigation is a separate wing, so that the evidence collection is done by an expert group of people, so that they can collect clinching evidence, so that the courts can go for a proper trial.
Okay.
I have a small suggestion, very quickly. I hope this boy is not kept in a juvenile home, because he will be a threat to the safety of other children. He should be in a psychiatric ward. He should be studied very closely, because he needs to be watched and not put, in company of other young.
He doesn't deserve to be in the company of others.
He will
he
be
could
a
be
threat.
A danger to them.
He would be endangering their lives.
That's a strong point to end this discussion with. I'm completely out of time. I could have talked about this for hours, honestly, with our guest this evening, but I'd like to thank Manish Mohan, Madhukishwar and Utsav Vens for joining us, giving us their valuable time and insight about where things really stand and perhaps how things really ought to change. Like I said, this is a series of discussions we're going to be holding all through the rest of this week, and you will see Madhu, Manish and Utsav back here on Headlines today. But for now, thanks very much.